All right, MYB community, stand up. Thank you so much for coming back to us here for episode number 252 of the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. Check it out, the people that are jumping in on Facebook and Instagram. What's up, everybody, as you're jumping in the room here for class. Subscribe to the podcast, 5-star, wherever you get your pods. Helps us to continue to build the MYB community. As you guys have done with me now for over 3.5 years. And I greatly appreciate that. You can always catch me at champronbrooks.com. Listen, I'm excited for, this great brother, man, great leader in the business field that's joining us today. We're recording this on Saturday morning on March the 6th. And so I'm just excited that he took time here, man, on the weekend. There's a lot of places that he could be. But he's right here with us, MYB, to share and kind of pour in some great insight that you could take from a practical standpoint and be just a little bit better. So Nathan Bufford is our guest today. He's the founder of BuildABiz. Just tremendous, man. I was looking through the background of it, and I think it's just a tremendous business, tremendous platform for business owners to help leverage and have that springboard and that support. Right. And so we're going to get into that, man. But first, man, Nathan, thank you so much, man, for jumping in and plugging in with us, man.
Oh, yeah, I definitely appreciate it. And I say thank you for your time as well. I look forward to this podcast. So I definitely got here a little early, just wanted to get started. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And you got here a little early and I got here a little late. Man. So that's how that ended up. We had to match that up a little better, man. That's what we say. We're going to be a little bit better. Definitely for sure. So Nathan, man, let's get into it, man. For those that aren't familiar with you, man, tell us about yourself and kind of your journey to get to where you are.
Definitely. So I started BuildABiz really back in 2016. I initially been a business infrastructure consultant for the last 8 to 9 years going on here locally in the Atlanta, Georgia area. So really that's been my main focus, building that foundation for BuildABiz. And what I did, I noticed a few things working with a bunch of clients. One of the first things was that credit couldn't get them over the hurdles of what they need for more financing. Another thing, they didn't have that foundation infrastructure that they wanted to scale. They might have had it in their mind they wanted to scale, but in reality, it wasn't doable just because of the structure they had. And thirdly, it was about their customer base. They really didn't know their niche. A lot of businesses, they making money, but it's here and there. It's not really a focused niche that they wanted to scale with and bring that cash flow into play. So what I wanted to do was build a platform for entrepreneurs and small business, which we have BuildABiz, that takes consumers and small businesses through a ladder process of rectifying their credit, getting understanding and educational on that aspect, personal as well as business, as well as giving them resources they need for establishing that foundation and infrastructure for the long-term play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, Nathan, when you come across people, because, and I do as well as someone that's a former banker, when you talk about the credit piece, what are some of those specific challenges that people come with? I know for me, it was often that there wasn't a lot of education, right? In our very foundation, there's not much education on things like credit and that sort of thing. And so people's first exposure to credit tends to be, in a lot of cases, predatory. You know what I mean? Like these companies send you stuff when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and no one's really been around to provide you that infrastructure or knowledge as to, how to maybe avoid certain pitfalls or, how to maybe even leverage it to do things that acquire assets, right? I know for me, going to college, I'm dating myself a little bit, Nathan, but I went to college in them days, man, where as a freshman, they got the tables up with the credit card companies, man, and they were waiting to sign you up. And it was so easy to get you $1,000 or $2,000 credit card. And, as a kid, you can go and easily run that up, right, on stuff. And then before you know it, you're already behind the 8 ball. And then you decide you start your business at 30, 31, you know what I mean? But you've got this history behind you, man. So talk a little bit about that, about kind of what you see that's common amongst people when it comes to the credit piece.
So what's usually common with some of the consumers that I run into is really either high utilization, a lot of debt collection, or like you said, they are uneducated about credit. So they don't have credit at all. They saying cash is king, credit is queen. You got both, you winning all the way across the board. Right. So which what I like to do is just educate them pretty much on the basics of personal credit.
Yeah.
Because once you have that credit piece and you're able to manage credit, you can leverage it properly towards your
Right.
business. And
Facts.
that's where most people don't really understand it. So what we try to do is educate them on that process.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And so, Nathan, as you were building the business in those early days, talk about that back in 2016, where the environment definitely was different. You were kind of in the midst of social media really becoming, the big thing, really being entrenched in, our society. So kind of talk about, that time, those early days. Where did you have partners? Did you kind of more bootstrap it, or did you have funding? That sort of
Yeah.
thing. As you were launching the business.
Yeah. So really, I took my own strategy and used it to see if it really works. So
Yeah.
what I did was I built up my personal credit and I was able to manage that. So by managing my personal credit, I leveraged that into business credit to establish several credit lines that I can use to fund the business. Because I knew
Mm.
at some point I would need cash flow. So I
Right.
had to focus on a
Facts.
strategy that gave me cash flow as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So by selling, we have ebooks on our website as well. We have different platforms, affiliate marketing, whole nine yards to obtain that cash flow I would need to pay down the credit lines, which I
Yeah.
pretty much done within the first 6 to 7 months of starting the business. So I
Yeah.
was able to fund the business. I put about, I say, from credit lines and my personal cash, about 120,000 into it,
Yeah.
and was able to use that cash flow to pay that debt down gradually.
Yeah.
And by doing so, that helped me extend my credit lines even more.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yep. Exactly. And that's that education that you and your team provide for business owners coming in. And one of the things I love when I was just doing a little bit of research on your company is you really meet people where they are. And I think sometimes with organizations and with incubators or whatever people want to call them, sometimes they catch people, or they say they want to catch people where they are, but really they're catching people at certain levels, or they only focus on certain industries,
Yeah,
tech or medical or things like that. And you guys seem to be very holistic, which I love, and kind of organic, where you don't have to be college educated or come from this really polished background, or be really polished when they come to you.
yeah,
They can feel comfortable coming to you where they are, and then you can kind of help direct them and mold them from there. So talk about that piece of it, man, because I think that's a little unique.
yeah. So that goes back to the ladder program. So
Yeah.
what we found out with most consumers, because we did about 2 to 3 case studies before I even started the business, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm glad I did. And what I found was by doing that case study, a lot of people really didn't have the funding. So the question that kept coming up that became our niche is, where do I start? Right.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you have a lot of people that say, well, I don't have the initial cash to start. Okay, we can fix that. That's your personal credit. We can help you assist and manage your credit to give you that cash to jumpstart the business. Now that
Right.
gives you an optional platform, which now you can either bring on investors, you can bootstrap it if you want to. It just gives you that either do it yourself or hire a pro standpoint, because now you have the actual cash to do so.
Yeah.
So with that holistic standpoint, it brought in a lot of consumers as well as professionals locally, as well as tailored to your local platforms and local areas that the business is in. So to give you an example, we have a client right now that's in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So he needed a CPA, he needed a well as a tax strategist, a developer that he wanted to work with as well.
Yeah.
So what we did initially was we reached out to several CPAs in the Vegas area that's close to them that he could be face to face. All right, as
Gotcha.
you know, in this pandemic area, really it's been Zoom calls for him. But
Right.
the overview on what I'm trying to get to is we try to make it localized because it builds a relationship and it builds a base between that consumer, that resource, as well as us.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. And that pipeline, I think, is very important and critical to, people's development, because in business, so much of it is mental, right? And mindset. Even before you get into some of the strategies and tactics, right? And so
Yeah,
one of the things I love, what I was seeing and gathering was, even during this pandemic, how you're helping people again, where they are, but you're kind of starting out with that mindset and that mentality. so that then you can, instruct them and execute on the strategies and the tactics to help develop that base platform. It's like we were talking offline about real estate.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
build it on a solid foundation, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
definitely.
a house built on sand is directly is probably not going to last too
Yeah,
long,
yeah, it
right?
definitely ain't gonna
You know
last
what I
too
mean?
long. So, yeah, you definitely want
Right.
that solid foundation because at some point you do want to scale. You just don't want to be at the same point at any level. You want to move to the next level. You want to keep scaling as much as possible. I
Yeah.
know everybody has different goals and ambitions. So what we try to do is pinpoint those goals and ambitions that you have, and then structure a strategy and a scale platform that works with you. And that's been wonderful thus far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Nathan Bufford is our guest today, the founder of BuildABiz. You can learn more. Go to buildabiz.today. Make sure you do that. Do that today.
Yes,
Go to
yes.
buildabiz.today, and that way you can learn more and plug in. For you personally, it's interesting that when you talk about that level up, Nathan, man, you did the same thing personally, man. I was reading that you were from Carbondale, Illinois. Um, I actually played in the basketball tournament, when I was young up there in Carbondale.
Yeah.
There at the university. So, um, talk about that transition, man, coming out of kind of the Midwest, kind of smaller town there in Illinois. I read that you got your start in business, in the t-shirt business. When you were really young, man. So let's dial back that a little bit, man, for you personally, because there's this parallel between your business helping people level up and then how you did that,
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
yourself, man. So I love that parallel. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so from Carbondale, Illinois, small country town, really known for a school, Southern Illinois University, which
Right.
I love, and really all they do is party and blue collar work. So,
Right.
hey, but
Right.
I love where I'm from. But one thing that was established in me young from my parents was opportunities. So
Yeah.
they sent me to a lot of career prep programs and a lot of learning programs, e-learning programs and stuff like that to establish those opportunities for careers. So they give me an idea of what I want to accomplish in the future. And
Yeah.
by doing that, literally, at the age of 14, I started a t-shirt company that pretty much threw me in the fire. So I had to
Mm.
learn on my own, learn experience, learn how to read contracts a little bit,
Yeah.
learn to interview the right people.
Mm.
At the time, I didn't have the right people around me. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just throwing it to the wind,
Yeah.
and going on Google, researching myself, um, and that information that I needed. So what transitioned was it became a life experience that I can use now because it gave me that kick in the butt that I needed that
Yeah.
most people don't have until they're about 25, 26. But I had that kick in the butt at a young age, which motivated me to even do more.
Yeah.
Um, so immediately from graduating high school and starting that t-shirt business, the next day after graduation, I moved immediately to Atlanta where there was more opportunities for me.
Yeah.
Because I knew I couldn't do it in Carbondale because there's not a
Right.
lot of opportunities. There's not a lot of resources that I can tap into. But being
Yeah.
here in the Atlanta area, I can walk out my door. I can go to Lenox. I can go to Buckhead. I'm gonna run into somebody
Facts.
wherever I'm gonna go, most likely, that has a business, and that's looking to produce or looking to, I don't want to say mentor in a way, but may give you that quick advice that you may need to scale up or get to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. No, I love that. I love, you talked about getting started in it early. And, one of the things we always try to share with people in the MYB community as you're listening to this podcast, and you got young people, get them started early. One of the things like Nathan and I are talking about is, it's one thing when you want to start your business at 35, right? But, as we know, life happens. And
Oh yeah,
that's one of the challenges is when when people have this kind of long kind of history and a lot of hurdles to kind of overcome from their past. The younger that you are when you can get started, before you have a lot of the responsibilities and before you get a chance to really in a lot of cases mess things up to try to
oh
help you
yeah,
repair it. The more we can get generations started in it early. And I'm seeing a lot of that even when I'm on like the Clubhouse app and things like that. I'm in rooms with like teenagers, and I marvel at their maturity, right? And their knowledge base that a lot of kids are starting out with, man. And so I know you're part of that in kind of helping people level up, as early as possible. But talk about that a little bit too, Nathan, about people that maybe a little more seasoned in their walk that come to you, right? And
Yeah.
like for me, I'm 40, right?
Yeah.
So I started my business as young, but imagine if I'm coming to you for the first time, I want to start my business. I'm tired of working in corporate or whatever it is. But I've got a little history,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know
Definitely.
what I mean? I come with maybe my history may have a little hair on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
How do you guys work with people like I just described?
Yeah. Yeah.
That come in like that.
Yeah, so working with more seasoned people, you
Yeah.
always got to ask the question, okay, what do you look to accomplish? And are you willing to take the time out? Are you willing to learn as well and get educated as well? I know you may be a little older, but are you willing to be educated? That's the main question that has to be asked from the get-go. Because some people may
Facts.
say yes, and then when you start the process, they stick to their guns, and that's not gonna work
Right.
for you. So we want to
Right.
make sure that you're open-minded. I use that term as open-minded to being educated. Well,
Yeah.
because life, it comes with its ups and downs. But if you can
Facts.
learn how to manage and go through life and maneuver through those ups and downs and be flexible enough to be educated, then you can scale up wherever you at. You could be 70 years old and start your business.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No, that's a tremendous point. Tremendous point is you got to be open minded and you got to be flexible, and in some cases you may have to unlearn some things that you've learned in the past. But yeah, you have to be open. That's for sure. Particularly when you're coming in seasoned. We mentioned a little bit earlier, Nathan, about the pandemic, and I'm intrigued by because of your business model in this, because I think you were set up prime, even starting from 2016 for these times, right? And it's interesting because many companies over the last year have had to pivot, right?
Yeah.
And your company again being built, somewhat virtually, and being on the forefront of that. I'm interested in what you're seeing with people now. What are people doing well during this pandemic? People coming to you that are starting their business. What are maybe some common mistakes that business owners are making during this pandemic?
Yeah. So I'll just start with the common mistakes that most people are making is they don't want to pivot, even though they didn't
Mm.
seen that what's going on, but they don't want to pivot to an internet presence, which you
Yeah,
have to at this point. Like if you
yeah,
don't, you might as well say you a dinosaur. So you have
right.
to pivot. You have to be flexible. You have to be open minded. You have to
Yeah,
be willing to change, even if it's not a lot. You have to change to a degree.
yeah,
Um, but what's been going on as far as with BuildABiz with a lot of the new clients that's coming into play, they are a lot more open minded. They see what's going on. They understand that a 9 to 5 is not guaranteed anymore.
yeah,
So they're looking at those hobbies that they didn't have for years that they've been selling just to their friends and family. But now social market, what I call it, has opened up. So
yeah,
you have the everyday 9 to 5 that has that secondary hustle
yeah,
that was generating a little income. Now all of a sudden it's generating more income just based on their online presence. And it might just be through Instagram, it might be through Facebook, it might be through Snapchat or any social platform. So now the opportunity comes, hey, do you want to build that foundation on that potential hobby that could now be an actual job or business for you that can bring in the revenue that you dreamed of and obtain the goals that you want to and ambitions.
This pandemic, Nathan, accelerated a lot of what you're talking about, which is, when you got 30 to 40 million people that all of a sudden are somewhat displaced or impacted by, the pandemic's then impact on the economy, right? And industries that, may not even fully recover, industries that, like you say, where the leadership failed to pivot, right? They failed to
Yeah.
be open and creative enough, and so then that industry suffers from there. And I think there's a shift going on where, like you say, there's more education, there's more people
Yeah.
like yourself that are out sharing this education, and the internet promotes that with videos and things like that. So I think people are getting more educated on the fact that that there's nothing wrong with working a job if that's your passion, that's what you want to do. But for many people, they work jobs that they have no interest in, they have no passion around. It's just what they do is mundane every day. and they really have a passion for that hobby or that business, but they're either afraid or they're not sure themselves
Oh yeah.
to develop that transition. So talk about how you all mentor, quite frankly, Nathan, people to where, like you say, whatever that goal is, you could help them get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what we try to do is give them a one-on-one consultant.
Yeah.
Um, to give you an example, I'll be your one-on-one consultant. If you got any questions, I can advise you. I can answer those questions as quickly as possible, get back to you as soon as possible. And the one thing that I stress to people is ask questions. If you don't
Yes.
know, ask questions. Because I ask, if I'm in a business meeting and I don't know something, they're going to get tired of me. I'm going to ask so many questions.
Right.
It's because I want to understand it. I want to not just understand it, but comprehend it clearly
Yeah.
so I can communicate it as clear as possible. So
Yeah.
what we try to do is mentor these businesses as they grow. So you might have a business that's on one of the clients that I have is Athena Lifestyles. So she has a home brand that she actually went and got a mobile RV, refitted the mobile RV, sells purses, sells jewelries that she created on her own, and she goes to these events here locally as well as in other states and sell these items.
Yeah.
So what we had to do was be creative with her and go along with her goal that she was looking to accomplish. So now that you have a physical location that's mobile, okay, we need to build up your online presence to where you can have your products and your sales and get more of a passive residual income coming in. So now you can expand on those.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's definitely a tremendous process, and I can see being highly effective. For people now as they get serious.
Yeah.
About going down that path and how they can develop whatever their goal is for their business, whether they want to have it scale to be at a certain higher level, or if it's more of a lifestyle business that just
Yeah.
is designed to supplement or kind of support their lifestyle. Man, I love that holistic creativity that you all bring to that educational forefront. What do you see that's next, Nathan, as we go through kind of the rest of 2021? What are some things that from your perspective that those of us as business owners or even prospective business owners should be on the lookout for? Is there anything that you kind of see on the horizon?
Yeah, one of the things that I do see on the horizon is having a clear tax strategy. Because a lot of
Yeah.
businesses that are running too, their taxes just jacked up. They don't know what they're
Right.
doing.
Right.
They CPA
Yeah.
is helping them, but they CPA is stressed out because they're not asking the right questions, or
Yeah.
the CPA just don't know exactly what tax strategies need to be implemented for that particular industry.
Right.
So what I suggest to business owners and entrepreneurs that's looking to get started, understand Uncle Sam, hire a tax strategist to work with your CPA.
Yeah.
Because one thing is that just personally myself, I feel as though, hey, you have your CPA work one thing, but you have a tax strategist that helps you implement that strategy along with your CPA. And that's
Yeah.
one of the main things that I see for the future now going on later.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, inflation is coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
as you can tell, but
Right.
with that, you want to make sure that you handle your business accordingly, and that's one thing I do see. And then on the other hand, is building that online presence,
Yes.
almost like a
Yes.
physical presence. Your first impression is what really matters. If I
Right.
go to your website and you say, "Hey, I'm doing this, I'm selling bakery goods," but I go to your website and you showing me steaks, then
Right.
I don't know what I can do for you. Like
Right.
that
Right.
does
Right.
that doesn't entice me to do business with you, because you
Yeah.
said you were selling bakery goods, but on your website you got barbecue steaks, and all these different categories that
Right.
don't really focus on the niche that you told me about.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it, Nathan. And and talk a little bit, kind of expanding on that point of you mentioned earlier about businesses connecting with their target audience. And one of the things that I always would come across with business owners as they're starting out is they have this mindset that they serve everybody, right? They kind of get this kind of mission based mindset that everyone's their target audience, and they want to try to go after everybody, right? And that's really just not the case. Virtually every business has a target audience. even if you're selling toothpaste and toilet tissue, right?
Yeah.
Everybody probably should use it, right?
Yeah.
But yours particularly is not, the target of every single human being on the planet. So, talk about how you try to shift people's mindset and help them recognize their target audience. So Nathan, like you said, the online collateral and things like that matches, who they want to attract.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that I found out just from experiencing myself, that same mission of, oh, I can serve everybody. But once it
Yeah.
came down to it, I can't serve everybody. But I
Right.
can focus on a particular niche and a particular target, which are entrepreneurs and small businesses between the age of 18 and 55. That's
There you
my
go.
target.
Yeah.
I know my target like the back of my hand. I know it and I can build upon it. And one thing that I stress to consumers as well as business professionals is once you have that target, the data is going to tell you where you need to be and your
Right.
target audience. If you follow the
Exactly.
data, you're going to move in a successful direction because that data has been built upon certain demographics that allow for you to establish that platform and that niche and that target audience that we are discussing at the moment. But most people don't want to take a look at the data.
Right. Exactly. And that data is so important. It's so critical to understand. You got to understand the numbers and the behavior behind the numbers.
Yeah,
Right. It's
definitely.
one thing to know the numbers, but you got to understand what's driving the behavior behind it, so that
Yeah,
you can, like we talked about earlier, pivot and make adjustments as you need, or direct resources in an area or direction where you're
yeah,
seeing success.
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, so for that efficiency. So man, Nathan, this has been informative, my man. This has
Yeah,
been
definitely.
tremendous, man. You dropping a lot of gems on us. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm trying
Things for
to.
yeah, no doubt, man. As we kind of conclude here, man, from a mindset standpoint, what are one or two things that have worked for you, right? In your pathway now, man. You're very ambitious. You're tenacious. I can tell. You go after yours. You identify where the opportunity is, and then you go for it. Um, you know, for this audience, going forward, man, what's maybe one or two things that you would share, just from that mindset piece that could really help people, when they get done listening to this podcast or listening to this great conversation, man, something that they can go do. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
what's your
yeah,
thoughts there?
yeah. One of the main things that I say is write down your goals and your ambitions, and then see how those goals work hand in hand with each other. And once you have that, create a management time plan. And why I call it management time plan, because you have to manage your time. If you can't manage your
Yeah.
time, you ain't gonna be able to manage your business. And that's
That's
just
heavy.
being bluntly honest. That's just being bluntly honest about it. And the last thing I say is pretty much believing yourself like you believe in your higher being. Whoever you believe in it, believe in yourself that same way, and you will be able to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish.
That's heavy, MYB. That's heavy. You got to believe in yourself, right?
You definitely
Nathan's
that's that
exactly
because
right.
that's where it starts. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
You got to believe in yourself
It's
100%.
Yep, exactly. And you got to manage your time, right? You got to, the things that, what you consume, right? What are you around? Who are the
Yep.
people you're around? If you want to build your business, again, if you want to get away from corporate, if you're going to hang around corporate, right, then do
Yeah. Yeah.
corporate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely.
If you want to be in business, you got to start hanging. It's interesting. When we talk about, like, we use sports as an analogy. When I play basketball, I want to hang around basketball players. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I can't say I want to play basketball, and then every time you look up, I'm on the baseball diamond. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, Ron, which one do you want to do? Right. So I
Oh yeah.
entrenched I engulfed myself in it. I read about it. I watched it. I played it. Right. I was around coaches.
Yeah.
I was around all things basketball. And you got to do the same thing in your business, folks. You got to put down maybe the Netflix a little bit, put down some of the streaming services, maybe change your music out to podcasts, maybe get into some networking groups. You got to invest in yourself and invest in your development. And so that's really what Nathan is talking about. And one of the ways you could do that is by going to BuildABiz.today and get plugged in with Nathan and his entire team, and let Nathan know that you heard him right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. man. And so, Nathan, man, I want you to get back to your day, man. I know you got things kind of loaded up personally and professionally, but thank you so much, brother, man, for taking time out for this audience, man. It's been an honor to talk with you, and man, I look to remain plugged in, man, for real.
Definitely. We definitely going to remain plugged in. I want to say I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me. Appreciate your audience and appreciate your time as well. And I look forward to speaking with you again. We might be able to do some business as well. So I definitely look forward to speaking with you.
You know what? Atlanta ain't that far away, man. And every time I travel from here to Memphis, all roads end up leading to Atlanta, man. If you fly Delta, man, you can't go anywhere without going to Atlanta, man. So definitely could get down there, man. And shout out to Olivia Magro for helping to link this up with the O Plus Media Group LLC. Make sure you check her out. She's been a tremendous friend and supporter of the podcast. I'd be remiss if I didn't make sure to shout her out. So make sure to go to oplusmediagroup.com. That's oplusmediagroup.com and connect with Olivia Magro with O Plus Media Group LLC. Nathan, I'll let you get back to it, brother. We're going to be in touch.
Appreciate it.
And man, thank you again, brother. Be great.
You too. All right, bye.
Yeah, excellent. That was Nathan Bufford joining us here on the Minding Your Business podcast. Listen, we're going to get out of here. Make sure, again, BuildABiz.today. Make sure you go do that. That link is in the show notes. Okay, so make sure you go check out Nathan and his entire team. Remember, there's 3 things that unite us, folks. We all want to be a little bit better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. And so if we can all do that together and keep that in mind when we come across each other and interact with each other, I promise we will all make this place just a little bit better. So thank you all for tuning in here for episode number 252. I'm your host, as always, Champ Ron. And listen, go be great for everyone that is in your circle and then beyond.